December 4th, 4:51 p.m. I'm standing outside and decided to talk a little bit about my adventures yesterday. I ended up making it to Best Buy, which for me was a goal that I had set for myself months ago. And I know that sounds probably pretty strange to people, but I'm an agoraphobic. It's something that I've been suffering with since I was about 26 years old. I used to be a truck driver in my late teens and early 20s, and developed anxiety in my early 20s, which turned into a bit of agoraphobia by my mid-20s. But back then it used to only limit me to traveling far away, like out of state and stuff. I eventually got better a little bit, to the point where I was able to travel out of state a few times for work. But then within the last year, things got really bad. A result of various stresses coming down on me. Ended up with me well, I lost my job was one thing, and so I wasn't traveling out of the house very often anymore. And so when I would leave the house, you know, it was only to go to the grocery store or something close by. I wasn't traveling across town anymore to get to an office or anything. So I wasn't getting out of the house much. I was getting out to do some video shoots, but it was only every so many weeks. It wasn't daily, it wasn't here and there, so I wasn't used to traveling anymore. And it kind of made me fall back into myself and sort of not, that whole, it's kind of like a muscle. You don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. And I lost it, and I suddenly, by the winter, last winter, I had trouble even traveling a half a mile to the gas station down the street. I would start to get anxiety, or if I would try to go to my bank, I would get a lot of anxiety. You know, my heart would start racing, all that stuff, and I'd have trouble like getting there. Sometimes I'd even turn around. But then I got better. I started to get better. I spent the last, well, since spring, summer, working on myself and pushing myself, especially when the weather got nicer, because it's easier for me to drive when the sun's out and there's less traffic, and so like times that aren't rush hour, times it's not raining, times it's, you know, not dark, stuff like that, it's easier. But freeway closures around here have also resulted in me having trouble getting around, and that's part of what started to cause my issues with travel locally. So yeah, it became a problem, and I've been slowly pushing myself out more and more, and I've been able to get 2 or 3 miles away from home now. And yesterday I got about, I think it was about 4.5, almost 5 miles from home. So Best Buy is the furthest I've been. The crazy thing is I mean, this is something I used to do constantly. I used to be able to I used to go to that Best Buy all the time. I used to just on a whim, like, oh, you know, like get a wild hair up my butt, decide, oh, you know, I'm gonna run up to Best Buy right now. And then like, you know, 10 minutes later or whatever, I was at Best Buy, you know, and I'd be shopping around, just doing whatever. Or I'd stop there on my way home from work, since it was on my way back home from work or something, you know, like when I worked on that side of town over there. So it's funny when I think about the fact that like your perspective changes completely when you're in a position like I am, where suddenly it's like everything becomes a lot harder. Every step, every half mile, it all becomes much more difficult. There were times where this past winter, like a year ago, where even going to my local Kroger, like I would get anxiety walking into my local Kroger, and which is a 1.5 miles away from me, you know, and I would start to feel that anxiety just if I had to go to the back of the Kroger to get milk or something. And so I would try to avoid going to the back of the Kroger, because getting out of the car alone was hard enough, and getting into the front of the store, but then having to travel to the back of the store by foot took even more time, and it created even more distance between me and my car. And so this feeling, this agoraphobia that I have, it's all, this anxiety is all about being trapped. It's about this feeling of not being able to get to your place of safety fast enough, which for me is my home. And my home has changed over the years, so I'm not sure what it is that my brain associates with home and why. But yeah, it's even changed in the last couple of years. So it's hard to explain, it's hard to figure out, who knows how the human brain works. But the point is I've been struggling with it, and yesterday I was able to get to Best Buy, which was a goal I set for myself, to get there between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. And then and I accomplished it yesterday, and I feel really good about that. And I did it by doing it in steps, by first going one place that's closer and staying there for a little while, and then going another place that's closer and staying, and then another place. And I got anxiety at the second place I went to, because even though I had been there before, like a month and a half ago, and that was the farthest I had been at that point, I had some anxiety there, but by the time I pushed on forward a little more north and got to the Best Buy, I had no anxiety when I was at the Best Buy, just joy that I was there, that I had made it. And so I spent probably a good hour walking around there with my son, looking at things and stuff like that. And yeah, it felt like an accomplishment, and that was good. And the next step is to push a little further and a little further, and to do it more regularly. That's again, it's like build muscle. You got to do it more regularly. At least for somebody like me. For other people, they can just go and do these things every once in a while, and it's not a big deal. But for me, it's something I got to keep doing. Otherwise, I seem to lose it. So yeah, that's just a quick update on my issues. Thanks for listening.